brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
so
great advice.
thank you, Linda. It really sparked a lot of conversation, and people were thinking, well, diversifying, how would I do that? Does that mean I need to go and get another job, or can I use some of what's coming in to invest wisely? It was really, it sparked a lot of conversation. So thank you for that. And then it led very nicely into yours, Brenda. Calculators were out, Brenda. So that you talked about this financial independence number, and let me hear it from you, and then I can tell you how
I'd never
excited
actually heard of the concept before
Oh,
either, so that
yeah,
that's pretty good.
Well, yes, because you've just heard that we rely on the normal person would rely on one form of income, their active, we call it their active income. Yes, because they're exchanging their time for money. Yes, they go out to work, they know that they can show up and they will get income from that.
Yeah.
But when you get to the stage where actually, do I want to be working as hard as I have been working now? Well, that might be a different subject.
Yeah.
Because I talk about your FIN. What is your FIN? What is your financial independence number? Because lots of people talk about financial independence. Yes, they talk about, I want to be financially independent. What does that look like?
Yeah.
So I'd say that financial independence is actually being able to accumulate enough assets, investments to live off the income that those investments can give you. So that will be, all sorts of different types of things. But when you get to the stage where you've accumulated a certain amount of money, that if you now invested that money, it gives off a passive income. So therefore, now you've got choices. Yes, you can either do the work that you love to do, or you can retire. Yes, or do something else that you are now really passionate about. So the financial independence number is where you're able to now say, okay, I've accumulated investments, and that's going to give us an income of X amount through those investments. So I think you did say that the calculator came out, and just imagine that they said that in the UK, the average salary is something like 30,000. Yeah. So if you were to say, actually, if I wanted to replace my income through, my work, and you said that 30,000 was, what you need to know that you've got passively coming in. If you times that by 20, yes, that means that you have to have accumulated £360,000.
Okay.
Yes, to give off an income of 10% of 36,000. So that's the kind of things. And I know that not everybody's great at numbers, etc. But there are calculators out there. How can you accumulate that money over time? You're not going to do that immediately, but it can be done over time.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We had great fun with that. Like I said, people were like, phones were out and people weren't TikToking. They were like, okay, so if I earn this and I times it by this, that's what I would need. And then all sorts of plans were happening for how they would diversify and accumulate this. And then somebody had, ended up with a little chihuahua called Louis Vuitton that they put in their handbag and the card. And so it was great fun. It was great fun, and it was a real healthy conversation. Not shying away from money. Yeah.
So, good.
Right. So thank you
so much for that, Brenda. That's really, really useful, making sure we've got our financial independence number. But there was also another piece, Joyce, if I could bring you in at this point. You talked about building your emergency fund. Of course, all sorts of stuff are happening or have happened in the last 3 years, which have been unthinkable and unimaginable, say 3 years ago. Global pandemic, war in Ukraine, energy crisis. It all seems to be happening, which makes your contribution even more pertinent. So what's an emergency fund, and why should we build one?
So an emergency fund is what we would traditionally call a savings. But when we call it a savings, generally what people do is we put money aside, and then before the end of the month, we've used it up. If you call it an emergency fund, psychologically it's telling you that's there for emergencies. The reason why it's important to have it is because you know you've got money to fall back on if there's an emergency. I mean, when we first had lockdown and everything, life stopped as we knew it. I read in the paper that the average household in the UK only has £100 in savings, and that was scary.
Wow.
That was really scary. If you don't have an emergency fund, especially if you're a single parent or even a couple, what happens when something like that suddenly, there's a huge change that happens and you're not able to work for a period and it's not health related? So you can't claim on the income protection because it's not health related. What do you do? So we all know about we need to save, but most of us don't do it. And generally, when I have conversations with people, it was usually, oh, but I don't earn enough to save. That's why I started by saying start small. It doesn't have to be you immediately go to saving £300 a month. Start with what you've got. And it helps when we budget. It helps when we can sit down and say, okay, this is what comes in every month. I'm going to put X amount is going towards food, X amount is going towards that. And then even if it's £25, we'll put £25 in the emergency fund. Build it over time. It needs to be something that you can comfortably set aside. That means that you can be consistent with it. If you start with the small, it builds discipline, and then you'll be able to be. You can start with £25, and the following month, 2 months later, you go, oh, actually, I can do 40. You're getting more disciplined. Because you're budgeting, and you know where your money's going now. In a few months, you realize you can actually do £100, but it's that step. It's starting. That's why we just haven't got enough to save. I need to go get another job. I need to go do extra to be able to save. Just start from where you are and then build from there. But it's key. It's so important.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Joyce.
It was another, all, like I said, ladies, all of you you were with me in this session the other day. And Joyce, yours really hit home with it, when people talked about the situations that they faced and finding themselves, like, wow, I'm short on this, what's going to happen? And it just adds to the, unnecessary trauma to the crisis. So, and then people were then planning ahead and thinking, and some people let out that, oh yeah, I do have that, and it's like people are like, oh, okay, so so it was again very interesting. I think it really led into Justina wasn't able to connect with us, unfortunately, today, but it really led into what she was saying as well, in terms of where people saying, I don't have enough, I'm in this job, or I don't have a job, I need to manage what benefits or whatever, where my income's coming from, and it's spread so thin. But those daily changes that Justina was talking about is where people are actually, because if you can go and you can buy your how much pound coffee from Starbucks, and I'm like, that one cup could buy a jar of good quality coffee still, so it was then just really examining those sort of things. So, people, if you haven't got the magazine and you haven't tapped into what these ladies have to offer, real experts, financial educators, coaches, you need to tap into what they have to offer, and then I'd like to bring in Colette, kind of leading off of what, Joyce's emergency fund, and where Justina was talking about those daily changes. Then Colette, could you please tell us what we were discussing in my hairdresser? What you brought?
Which is?
Sure. Okay. So thank you for the opportunity to share, what basically I believe is like a real essential tool that people need to use to actually really get their finances, sort of in order for 2023 and beyond. And the great thing about this tool, so it's called Fat Finder. Okay, FAT, not Fat Finder.
Yeah,
because it's all about pulling out the fact that you are really kind of looking at what you are spending, really looking at your habits.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to say, I'd like to start off by saying is that, so give yourself the time to actually do this properly. It's not about kind of thinking, okay, well, I spend £20 a month on my phone bill, and I spend this and that. It's about budgeting, but in a very, very smart way. So how it works is that I would say maybe Saturday morning, give yourself an hour, or Saturday afternoon, and it's about looking at your monthly expenses, looking at your payment, what are you spending on your mobile phone bill, what are you spending on food per month, what are you spending on various things like could be clothes, writing it all down. It's like writing it down on a piece of paper that will enable you to be very clear on what you're spending on these particular on these outgoings.
That makes sense.
So the Fact Finder tool, it has columns, and so in the first column, it allows you to write down your monthly expenses. Okay, so what are you really spending? Not what you like to spend. What are you really spending? Okay, you do takeaways. If you're going out, McDonald's and Nando's or whatever you're doing on a monthly basis, it needs to be very, very clear what you're spending across your month. Because what you want to get a picture of is, what you're spending, and then the second column will allow you to be putting in what you could be spending. So what you could be spending will allow you to see the difference between your monthly outgoings, what they actually are, and then what they could be. Okay. This will then free up money on a monthly basis. You could find that you could even be putting out £300 to £400 a month. Yes, as much as that. People I've worked with have said, wow, they've sat down and said, oh my God, I was spending like £100 a month on food extra each month that I don't need to be spending.
You're right.
And then what you find, these the second column will be really the picture of, it will allow you to really see that your monthly expenses can go towards, so the monthly income that you freed up can go towards paying off your debts, can go towards paying off your mortgage earlier, and that will allow you to kind of, plan a route to financial freedom. So it's really about just being very, very clear. So the first column is a bit of a recap. What are you spending each month? Second column, what could you be spending? So, your mobile phone bill, I'll take that as a good example. Some people are now doing SIM only, £20 a month.
Yeah.
Why are you paying £50 a month when you could be spending £20 a month? I've seen somebody who's spending £1,000 a month on food for himself and his 3 children, single dad, 3 children. And he said to me, am I really spending that £1,000 every single month? And I said, you tell me, you are. And he was just like, oh my God. And it was a realization that was what he was spending, £1,000 every single month. He had debts to pay. He called me the other day and said, oh my God, you would never believe, but my finances are really in order, whereby I now spend £600 a month on food. Still a lot, but he's managed to cut it down by half and put that money towards better needs. So it's great. So the tool will really just kind of keep you on point, and also and free up money that you need for yourself and your family for the future. So
that is brilliant. It's really good. Thank you so much for that, Colette. And this stuff really, really works, because one of the things I did at the start of last year is I was going out every day and buying, a meal deal, thinking I'm doing really, really well. And I switched from getting the meal deal to just preparing lunch at home.
Make sandwich,
make soup, leftovers. And it definitely trimmed out the fat from my finances and the other fat, but we won't talk about that other fat. but this stuff really, really does work. So, hey, listen, go and get that tool. It's the Fact Finder. If you want more information about the tool, then reach out to us, and we'll, of course, connect you with Colette and the rest of the other ladies. So thank you for that, Colette.